Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Larry McIntosh, and I'll be your host for the next hour and every Saturday morning from 8 to 9. Thank you for tuning in. I want to take a moment and wish a very happy birthday to Mr. Potato Head. Mr. Potato Head was created on May 1st, 1952, so he is 63 years old. Now, I can't remember, because I was way too young, when the first Mr. Potato Head came out, but it was the first toy ever advertised on television back in 1952. Also, did you know that the original Mr. Potato Head only came with hands, feet, eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and some accessories such as a hat? You had to actually poke these pieces into a real potato, which, from potato sales, that wasn't bad. But in 1960, regulations forced that the plastic parts had to be less sharp, so the company included a plastic potato body. And that's where we know Mr. Potato Head from today. And there's tons of Mr. Potato Head history that I can go on about, but we want to get to our guest this morning. Is Doug Stephen, President and CEO of WA Hospitality. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Larry. And I have to interject. I had one of the original potato heads, so that kind of ages me.
Wow, one of the original potato heads.
Where you put it in the potato.
They had those in Dauphin, Manitoba?
They did.
Wow. It's kind of an icon. I mean, those pieces were in cereal boxes at one time. The person sold the rights to it for $5,000. It's an interesting history as you go through the whole Mr. Potato Head thing.
And you know what? I didn't swallow a single piece. So they were safe back then.
They were safe back then,
They
but
were.
Times have changed. So you have many restaurants. Do any of them serve potatoes?
Almost all of them serve potatoes.
What do you mean almost all of them?
Well, I guess all of them do. And you know what? I'll bet you a lot of them are peak of the market potatoes.
There you go.
Yeah, if not all of them.
So we haven't had you on the show for a while, and every time we call you up and say, can you be on the show? You say, hey, I'm not doing anything Saturday morning. I'll come in, which we really appreciate. But there's always something new going on at WA Hospitality.
Well, we don't stand still, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. I'm honored every time that you invite me to be on your show. And if I'm in town, I will always be here. So, yeah, there is some new stuff still going on. And stay tuned. There might be after May the 7th even more news. But
Oh, really?
yeah. We'll maybe.
So we had you on too early.
No, it's a reason to come on again.
Perfect. So your newest thing would be the Pavilion Event Center. Would that be right?
That's correct.
Well, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had terrace in the park, and we were struggling with the fact that so many people wanted it to be a special event for them. And so what we did is we confused our guests, and they would come down to visit the restaurant, and we would be closed for a wedding, or vice versa would happen. And so we made a decision to try an experiment, and with the permission of the APC, Assiniboine Park Conservancy, we're going to give this a go through the summer and the fall of this year to see whether or not it can stand on its own 2 feet as specifically an event center.
So I would assume that it's a beautiful location, right? I mean, it's in the park year-round. It's a beautiful location. You have a ton of weddings that would happen there, I would assume.
We have a lot of weddings already booked and continuing to be booked now that the word is out there that we're an event center. Mm-hmm. And we've spent a little money. We've gone to the which I fail to understand why, but we've gone to the Chiavari chairs. And these are these fancy chairs that everybody uses in catering and fancified events. And so we've gone to the Chiavari chairs and the draping of the fine material with the twinkle lights, and it's a really cool looking space right now, and so we can do the special events very proud.
So where the restaurant was operating, it was the kind of the glass area, glass ceiling. Would that be the right words?
Yep.
Is that where you would have it? Atrium. That's the word I was looking for.
So we have the ability to do an event there, or upstairs in the gallery. Oh. We can do sit-downs up there, or small events in what we call the pavilion room downstairs, the private room. And we also have catering capacity still to do out to the Leo Mall Garden is our domain, and into the Lyric Theater area. So what we've done, as we don't have staff on site all the time, is we'll cater the events out of one of our many restaurants. So we kind of do a little bit of, you can have the classic menu that we've always had for weddings, and that will be executed by the chef that was originally there but now works out of 295. You can have the 295 menu to do an event, which is kind of your mid-range, your mid to upper range. And then if you want 5 to 9 to cater your wedding, you can have 5 to 9 cater your wedding. And what we do is we bring in all of the staff and product from the restaurants specifically for that event.
So the event would have to be a fair size to do that, wouldn't it? Or
Yeah, we'll do 50s. We'll certainly do 50s. If someone says, I'd like to have an event for 10 people, it would be a little bit of an expensive endeavor to bring everything over from one of the restaurants. So we're looking for the 50s to 150s in the event center.
So 150, that's would be comfortable. You also have the outside part. Now, you're talking about you can go out to Leo Mole Garden, but you had a bit of a patio.
Have a beautiful, beautiful terrace.
Terrace, that's the word I'm looking for.
And so we can do that. We always want to be mindful of having a rain date backup. So when I say 150, we can do that as a stand-up cocktail reception, not a sit-down.
Right.
If it's out onto the terrace, we can actually double that. Up to 300, but if it starts to rain, it gets a little crowded inside. But sit down, beautiful event, would probably be about 120.
So how long has it been the event center?
Since January the 1st.
Okay, so you have a bit of an experiment going as far as, you got a bit of history going there, is what I meant to say.
A little bit of a history. It obviously, because we did it sort of in the not in the heat of the moment, but as a starting off the new year. It didn't start really strong, but now it's really picking up speed. And we've probably got about 38 or 40 events just through the beginning of the summer.
And I would assume that for weddings, people would book that fairly far in advance, too. So you're probably going through a bit of a cycle, wouldn't you?
Exactly. We've got people already talking about next summer. But we do have people that are booking events. I got a phone call. I was just in Calgary, and I got a phone call in Calgary and say, we're looking for a place to do dinner for the wives of a conference. And it's 100 people, and it's in September, but they hadn't booked it yet, so they're looking at us.
Perfect. We're right back with Doug Stephen, President and CEO of WA Hospitality, after we take this break for your weather update. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. Now, I'm with Doug Stephen, President and CEO of WA Hospitality. He was nice enough to come in this morning, but off air, you just said you're going to donate a dinner for 4, so a dinner with Shelley and I, and one of our listeners and a guest at 295 York, which is amazing. So tell us a little bit about 295.
Well, it's a restaurant that we took over a little over a year ago. It used to be formerly known as The Lobby on York, and it's a modern steakhouse. So it's a little bit more less staid, we'll say, or like the classic steakhouse of 529. And our chef, Jesse Friesen, is a phenomenal young chef. And he does some wonderful things with his food, not only with the meat. He's doing a great meat program, beef program there, but he has some really interesting seafood and fresh fish as well. So a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more noisy, we'll say, and a ton of fun. So for those of you that are hockey fans, we just installed 3 bigger screens in our lounge area just yesterday. So we now have more screens. We've got a fairly large lounge, and we're going to get into a really interesting cocktail program in September that we're working on right now. So that could involve Bunsen burners and beakers and all sorts of things to make a drink.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
So it's kind of flying under the radar for the summertime as we do our research and train, and it will launch in September.
Okay, we're going to come back and talk about the restaurant in a minute, but let me tell you how you can enter this contest. So if you want to win dinner at 295 York with Shelley and I and you and a guest, simply send me an email at larrymcintosh@peakmarket.com, and McIntosh is MC, and it's peakmarket.com, and put in the subject line, wow, and just put a paragraph about, what do you want to put in a paragraph? Just a paragraph about something. Pick something, Doug.
I thought it would be your favorite Larry McIntosh story.
Your favorite Larry McIntosh story. So that could be hearing a show, or it could be seeing a commercial.
Yeah, seeing you out in the fields, like I always see you out in the fields, and talking to your carrot. It could be lots of those things. But you and Shelley will be the adjudicators of the winner.
Okay, so Send an email before noon today, I should say that, before noon today to Larry McIntosh at peakmarket.com. In the subject line, put wow, because that's the way we sort it, and then put a sentence or two about your favorite Larry story, which seems odd for me to be saying, but send it in, and you could win a dinner with Shelley and I at 295 York, which is an outstanding restaurant, one of our favorites. So back to that. You got a big lounge there, and you're going to be doing some new things.
Yeah, we are. We're taking the summer to, as I said, to do the research on the cocktails. And Chef is actually going to be looking at a small plate menu for that in the fall as well. So we'll have the modern steakhouse in the restaurant, which is a large restaurant. And we're working on a big wine wall that should be done by the fall as well. And then in the lounge, it'll almost be an entity unto itself. Because it's become a real big hangout, especially pre-Jets game and during the playoffs, it was unfortunate but boy, did Winnipeggers ever support their Jets.
Absolutely.
I think I saw you at a game.
Yes, you did. We were fortunate enough to get to both playoff games.
Both playoff
yeah,
games.
So we were fortunate. And the lounge is fairly large there is what I was trying to say. And you said the restaurant's large, but it doesn't really come across as being a huge space. It's kind of intimate.
Yeah, it's divided into 5 different areas. So you don't really get the scope of how big the restaurant can be until all the walls open up. And so we've done a wedding for 250 in that space and special events. But we also do a lot of intimate corporate parties. And as a business or special event or just a great place to go for lunch, the rooms are segregated in such a way that you don't ever feel like you're in a cavern.
And Chef Jesse's one of the best chefs in the city, and you have many good chefs in your restaurants, but he's one of the most energetic people.
He's a young man, and he's like the ever-ready bunny. You're right. He's always on top of things, and I can probably say here because it's official, but he was just invited as a new young chef to take part in the gold medal plates competition that hits Winnipeg in October. So
wow,
he's real pleased to be one of I think there's usually between 8 and 10 chefs chosen for that event, and he got his invite last week, so he's pretty pumped.
So 529 Wellington, Peasant Cookery, Muddy Waters, Food Evolution all have patios.
That's correct.
295 does not have a patio, right?
295 unfortunately does not have a patio. We thought when we acquired the business, we were told it did have a patio. And it's that cavernous space out front. And when we actually went to the city to get our permit to launch our patio, we were told that it's actually a fire escape.
Oh, okay.
So from the apartment, they have to have a way to get people out to the street, and it's through our entranceway. And so we couldn't actually put a patio in. So we're thinking that maybe in the future we might do a rooftop of the parkade, or we've been talking to the landlord about trying to do something outdoors because, let's face it, when we have a chance to dine al fresco in the city of Winnipeg, people just want to gravitate to. So, rooftop patios are now commonplace in the city. So rooftops of parkades might be able to be. So we'll research that one out. But in the meantime, still lots of room inside with air conditioning.
Wasn't there talk about doing something in that area, kind of an entertainment district or something in that area, or no?
Yeah, we're on the edge of it. It's called the Shed. It's called the Shed District.
Right? Okay.
And we're on the edge of it. It's a little bit closer to the arena, in those areas there. What is it? Sports Hospitality Entertainment District? Shed, is that what it is?
Sounds good.
Yeah, you know what? And the more that's happening, and there is stuff happening out there. A friend of mine, Bobby Matola, is opening a new restaurant on the other side of Portage Avenue by the Alt Hotel, or as part of that development. There's a couple of new smaller places coming on. So I think the more that's going to happen downtown, the better it's going to be for the city. And I think the more hospitality that happens downtown, it's going to be better for the city. Because with the hospitality comes the residential, with the residential comes the services, and all of a sudden you're sitting with a place like Vancouver, where you have this really vibrant downtown environment. And I think Winnipeg is right on the tipping point of that happening, and I'm hopeful that it happens in our lifetime.
We're talking with Doug Stephen, President and CEO of WA Hospitality. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. I'm Larry McIntosh, and it's time for our recipe segment called Now We're Cooking. You don't need to write this recipe down, as is today's recipe of the day at peakmarket.com and in the Winnipeg Free Press. So you can get all the information from our website or today's Winnipeg Free Press. Today's recipe is sweet potato rolls. And this recipe sounds very good. Here's what you need for it. All-purpose flour, whole wheat flour, oat bran, skim milk powder, orange zest that's been grated, salt, currants washed and dried, quick rise instant yeast, cooked and mashed sweet potatoes, melted butter, liquid honey, and eggs lightly beaten. And this recipe serves 16. If you're interested in viewing the full recipe, it is today's recipe of the day at peakmarket.com and in the Winnipeg Free Press. So you can get all your information from there. We'll be right back with Doug Stephen, President and CEO of Wow Hospitality, after we take this break. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. Food and Friends Radio is on TV. Each radio show is filmed and will be posted on Mytoba.ca later today. So you can see the TV version of this or previous radio shows at Mytoba.ca. We're back with Doug Stephen, President and CEO of Wow Hospitality. So we've been talking about a few restaurants. We talked about 295 York. We talked about the new event center, Pavilion Event Center. Yeah, some other restaurants that people may have heard of. 529 Wellington comes to mind.
Yeah, our little secret. We like to say that our staff always give me a hard time because there's no sign out front and there's no numbers on the building.
Mm-hmm.
And when my business partner and I travel to other cities where we have locations and we come back, and I always say to Janet, I said, watch this. And we get in the cab and the driver says, where to? And I say, 529. And I stop. And inevitably they'll say, Wellington? And then I'll say yes. So in 14 short years, 529 has become a bit of a Winnipeg institution, enough that we don't have an address on the building and we don't have a sign out front. We might eventually get there, but I kind of think it's almost like that speakeasy, hidden kind of thing. And it's certainly a little bit of our crown jewel right now.
And we had some people in. We put some new packaging equipment in our building last year, and had people in from Wisconsin and Ontario and Idaho that came in. They were staying out by the airport. They said, "Well, where do you want to go for dinner?" I said, "Well, let's go to 529." And we booked it well in advance. Obviously, it was a group of 10 of us, and they said, "Well, what's the address?" And said, "Just say 529 to taxi driver. They'll get you there." And exactly what you just said.
That happened.
Exactly what you just said.
Outstanding.
And they had an amazing time. So to me, it's a jewel. You're absolutely right. But it's great food. It's smaller rooms. It's comfortable. It's all those things that you get in a house, if you want to call it that.
And that's exactly how we started that business, Larry. We said we are welcoming people to your home, and we actually try to do that in all of our restaurants. But the vision that I had when my partner Jim Armstrong brought the idea to me, he was approached by a real estate agent. And I walked in the front door, and I said, I knew exactly what we wanted to do. And we all come out of the steak world in our previous lives. And so putting together 529, that I'd done a bit of traveling, and everybody said, well, people will pay that when they go travel to other markets because they're away. But will they pay that when they're in their own city? And what we did right from the get-go is we sourced the best possible product in the beef world that we could. And that's actually been part of the building of the brand. You can't buy any better beef in Canada than the beef that we serve at 529 Canada Prime. And we have stuck to our knitting once in our 14 years where we put in a position where we couldn't source the product. And at that point, we backed off to the next grade, Sterling Silver, and a marketed brand. And we actually told people that we couldn't get our prime, and we lowered the prices. And so what we are committed to is the best that money can buy. And so if you start with the best, like peak of the market vegetables, maybe you end up with the best.
Nice plug, thanks. Had to be a bit of a chance when you first walked up to that, because it's not downtown. It's not in a area with lots of restaurants in it or entertainment district. It's kind of a house on Wellington Crescent, and you saw the vision though.
Well, I was lucky, and I was blessed, and there wasn't a lot that could be done with that building when it was put up for sale by the Shrine, and so we felt that we were close enough to downtown that we were still worth a business drive from downtown, because you're really only about 6 to 8 minutes from downtown. Free parking, very, very major, and we also have been blessed with the fact that the Sharezetic Synagogue next door allows us to utilize some of their parking lot when they're not using it. And so there's lots of available parking and proximate to the door. So when you're coming from anywhere, your friends from out by the airport, it's down Route 90, and there you go. You come down Wellington Crescent and you're there. So it's and yet for those people that live in that area of town, it's on the way home or a close drive back. And so it's been a great ride, Larry, with 529, and we're very blessed that we have that kind of loyalty from the guests that come.
And you've had some very famous people dine there. It's kind of the place to come when the movies are in town and that type of thing.
We have, and what we try to do, I'll be honest with you, is we try to make sure that whoever comes into the building has a proper 529 experience. And I will name drop a little bit, but whether it's Brad Pitt or Jennifer Lopez or Richard Gere or Rob Schneider or Robin Williams did his Scottish golf routine in the service area of 529 and had the staff just bowling over with laughter, God rest his soul. But, and even our hometown heroes, the Winnipeg Jets, like to come by, and I'll give us a little bit of a plug. My partner, Jim Armstrong, was approached by Air Canada, and we had the stakes on the plane down to Anaheim when we flew down there. They were fueled by 529 on that flight.
Oh, wow.
So, we're very proud to be involved with the people. Bono. I could go on and on and on. But, yeah, I think it's partially because we try to protect the individuals. And we have to do it because when Larry McIntosh comes in, we have to make sure that he's protected and not too many people come over and ask for his autograph as well. So
that's never happened there. You're right. It's never happened.
That's because we protect you, Larry. You would not believe how many people have asked, can I just go in there and get his autograph?
I would not believe that. You're right.
Mr. McIntosh is enjoying dinner.
And it's a very, you can take your time. You can have a relatively quick meal there in the lounge. Some people like to eat in the lounge there too. Mm-hmm. It's fairly flexible, right?
It is, and I think I've even had vegetarian friends of mine come in and into a steakhouse, and we're able to give them a great dinner as well.
I have no doubt about that. We'll be right back with Doug Stephen, President and CEO of WOW Hospitality, after we take this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. I'm with Doug Stephen, President and CEO of WOW Hospitality. Now, Doug, you're kind enough, we mentioned in the last half hour, you have donated to us a dinner for four with Larry and Shelley and a listener and their guest at 295 York. And this is very generous of you. So, again, I kind of stumbled that. It's dinner with Shelley and I at 295 York for a listener and their guest. And this is how you enter. You send an email to Larry McIntosh at peakmarket.com, and McIntosh is MC, and it's peakmarket.com, before noon today, and in the subject line put WOW, because WOW Hospitality. And Doug picked this earlier. What do you want them to put a paragraph or a sentence about?
Best Larry story.
Best Larry story. Yeah. So it could be food and friends. It could be talking to a carrot. It could be a TV commercial or radio commercial. It's whatever.
Or your kind, philanthropic, out and about that you are. You and Shelley are always so kind to the community and the whole Peak of the Market family. So let's just get a nice story about Larry, and you can add to your library and adjudicate a winner.
Okay. So again, before noon today, send an email to Larry McIntosh at peakmarket.com, and in the subject line put WOW, and we'll do a draw later today and let you know who, if you're going to be going to dinner with Shelley and I. This would be great at 295 York. So we've talked about 295 York, we've talked about 529, and we've talked about the event center. We haven't even talked about half your restaurants you have around town. Peasant Cookery, Muddy Waters, Food Evolution, and I have to say, Muddy Waters, Shelley and I were on the patio on Sunday. Remember how lovely Sunday was? Well, the whole week's been lovely, but Sunday was great. First really nice day. I got a sunburn on my head, but had a great meal. Watched people go by at the Forks. It's great. So which is your, what restaurant do you want to talk about? I'll leave it to you.
Well, I wouldn't. There's one that we always tend to sort of, shuffle off to Buffalo, but that's Celebrations.
Right. Oh yes, of course.
And we don't. And there's some stuff happening there right now. It's a great little show, and it's called Once Upon a Time in Graceland. And it's a convergence of Once Upon a Time, the TV show, and so in the present and in the past and in fairy tale land, and it actually confused me a little bit because I don't watch the TV show, and then a ton of Elvis tunes. And Elvis kind of appears as well, so lots of fun going on at Celebrations. But I just, earlier this week, I was over at Peasant, and our patios are open there as well. So our chef Tristan's working on a new menu there with his charcuterie, which he's become quite famous for. Excuse me. And of course, we have Muddy Waters down at the Forks. We're actually easing that concept into a little less dependency on barbecue and a little more of an eatery menu. So we can make sure that we're catering to the whole family instead of just the guys with their sports and their wings and their barbecue. We are taking into consideration that we should look after the ladies as well. So you'll see an involvement there probably by just after the May long weekend.
And you could tell that Shelley and I are big fans of Wow Hospitality because we went to Celebrations and saw That's Dirty Dancing just before it closed. So we were just there. We're at Muddy Waters last Sunday, as I told you. And Thursday night, we tried to get into Peasant Cookery, but it was full because we were on our way to the ballet when we couldn't get in. You're all booked up. So you're a busy restaurant.
Couldn't make us happier. Peasant Cookery's sort of become the foodie little restaurant down in the Exchange, and we're blessed again to have that. And got a great team with Richard and Tristan down there. And it's I got introduced to the opera for the first time last week, and we were going to go to Peasant, but get this, we couldn't get in.
Oh, you could get in.
No, I couldn't. So, but it's a fine little restaurant. We have some things on the horizon for that restaurant as well, because I think that if you remain stagnant and think that you've arrived, that's when you start to sort of see a little bit of a deterioration. So always got to reinvest in what it is that you're doing and keep your team on their toes.
And it would be easy to say, 529, I'm sure, is a very successful restaurant for you. It'd be easier just to say, okay, that's good. We've arrived. Why do all these other things? But every concept you do seems to be unique. You're not repeating anything I've seen, at least.
How crazy am I? And that's true, and that makes it a little bit more difficult, but a little bit more challenging creatively. And our Food Evolution is coming into its second summer, and we've got some really cool things planned up there. Chef Mike DeQuisto is bringing out a barbecue on, especially on Rainbow Stage nights, because we partner with Rainbow Stage, and we're always full, of course, when there's a show on. So now we want to be able to actually attract more folks who maybe want to come in for the barbecue component of the meal before they go to the shows, because Rainbow Stage is doing 3 shows this year. So it will be a busy summer, and now that we've got the kinks ironed out and Mike's getting good reviews on his food, brunch is full, lined up for lunch, and it's a fun little restaurant in Kildonan Park, and it caters to that part of the world up there in Kildonan and all the way over into East St. Paul and Pritchard Farms. And so we like to say that we've infiltrated the north.
And Shelley and I have only been there during the winter, but you have a little bit of a patio there overlooking the duck pond or whatever that little area is there.
Well, it's big. It's almost 140 seats.
Is it really? Okay.
It is. And it's overlooking what is going to be the duck pond.
Right.
It still has a bit of remedial work to be done. The city's in the process of enlarging it and actually making it even more of an attraction. So we think it won't be done until the fall. And then in the wintertime, they're actually going to clean it off, and it's going to become a skating just like it is in Assiniboine Park. So And Kildonan Park is a real pretty park. And so we're proud to be part of that with the city of Winnipeg as well.
So when you and Carrie go out for dinner, which one of your restaurants do you go to?
That's a trick question.
I said one of your restaurants at least.
Can I, if we're full disclosure, we love our restaurants and we go to our restaurants. Her favorite restaurant, and it's because it's the restaurant where we met, is not one of our restaurants.
Oh.
And because Steve is a friend of mine, can I say his name?
Absolutely.
So her favorite restaurant, because it's where we met, is Ray and Jerry's.
Ray and Jerry's.
Ray and Jerry's. So we tend to go back there for anniversaries because we're now up to 5 years, and we take my mom there because she loves calf's liver, and I can honestly say we don't do calf's liver, so I'll let Steve feed her calf's liver. Except last week, like DeCristo said, I have calf's liver at Food Evolution. So there we went.
We'll be right back with Doug Steven, President and CEO of WA Hospitality, after this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Please join me next Saturday when my guest will be Dwight McCauley, Chief of Protocol for the province of Manitoba. Dwight is the perfect guest for next week's show as Manitoba Day is coming up on May 12th. Thank you, Doug, for being on Food and Friends.
You know what? It's always a pleasure, Larry, and I hope you... It's like that Johnny Carson thing. I hope you keep inviting me back.
And we'd love to have you back. And there's always something, we easily could do a 3-hour show. There's so much interesting things to talk about with your restaurants and you and your background, but I have to save it for another show.
We will.
Take care, everybody, and please don't forget to eat your veggies.